Collie Overstreet. Council District 12, Antonio Lewis. Present. Quorum present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Please note that Councilmember Westmoreland has also joined. Next, we will move to the adoption of the agenda. The agenda has been posted and shared. I would note that several of the proclamations are not going to be occurring today, I believe, because it's the Thanksgiving week. Are there any changes to the agenda? There's been a motion by Councilmember Wan, seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari, to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt the agenda? We can do this via unanimous consent without objection. Any objection to the adoption of the agenda? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll on please call the count on unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent of members present is 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries. Next, we'll move to the item on the agenda marked invocation. We do not have anybody to provide the invocation today, so we'll be taking a moment of silence. But I would offer opportunity for any of my colleagues who would like to offer a moment of silence or offer a note for anyone who's passed. Councilmember Amos.
Mr. Chair, no moment of silence. Just want to be recognized as present.
Oh, thank you. Please note that Councilmember Amos has joined us. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Yes, if we could take a moment of silence for Speaker Ralston, who passed away this last week.
Thank you.
That would be much appreciated.
Any others to note? Councilmember Wan.
Sorry, I'd also like us to lift the families and friends and loved ones of those that lost their lives in Colorado at the club shooting over the weekend.
Thank you. With that, if you please join me in a moment of silence for these and all others who have passed. Thank you. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move to proclamations, commendations, and other special awards. I believe that we have one proclamation today. I'll call Councilmember Overstreet forward, and all of those who are here for the recognition of Dennis Paul Kimbrough to please come up and join us on the dais.
Good afternoon. Today we are called to give lots of praise and proclamation for the wonderful Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. And we're here to do that because some are always working and in the trenches and don't get their due. And so often, when we have the opportunity to do it, we don't slow down enough to make sure that we're recognizing those that are really providing the right information to our communities, and that is who you are. You're making sure you're standing up communities and really drenching us with all of the information that we need in order to sustain now and for later. And I thank you for that. And for that reason, we are going to read this proclamation for you from the City of Atlanta. And it reads, in recognition of Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, whereas the Atlanta City Council is proud to honor Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, a stellar educator, author, and business school professor, and whereas he is collectively known as one of the most perspective and scholarly writers in the field today, and is the author of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And whereas he received a bachelor degree and master's degree from the University of Oklahoma, and later earned his doctorate in political science at Northwestern University. There he researched wealth and poverty in underdeveloped countries. And whereas with this coursework behind him, he went across the country interviewing America's most notable achievers. And whereas he wrote the Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice as an extension of the work of Napoleon Hill. He wrote in 1937 bestseller Think and Grow Rich. He was later commissioned by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to complete the manuscript. The book became a bestseller, and whereas these efforts refined the secrets of success contained in the lives of peak performing men and women, and shows how readers can employ these keys to make their dreams come true. And whereas he has lectured at many elite organizations, including General Motors, Disney's, Frito-Lay, and Wells Fargo, he has also appeared on CNN's Larry King Live and in publications like the Wall Street Journal and the USA Today, and also served as the judge of the prestigious Ernst & Young USA Today Entrepreneur of the Year event. And whereas Dr. Kimbrough is listed in Who's Who in Black America, is one of the chosen history makers, and we all know that's no easy feat, and is a recipient of the Dale Carnegie Achievement Award and the past director of the Center of Entrepreneurship at Clark Atlanta University, where he taught for 3 decades. And whereas in 2005, Kimbrough's second edition of What Keeps Me Standing, A Black Grandmother's Guide to Peace, Hope, and Inspiration was released. His writings have influenced readers from the streets of Melbourne, Australia, and Johannesburg, South Africa, to Seoul, South Korea. He is married, lives in Atlanta, and is the father of 3 daughters. Now, therefore, be it resolved and proclaim that the members of the Atlanta City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Atlanta, do hereby recognize Dr. Dennis Kimbrough for his expert writing and consulting of leadership, knowledge, and wealth. We thank him for sharing his keys to success and achievement with the world. And with that, I would love to hear from you, Dr. Kimbrough.
Don't know if that's protocol or not to hug a councilwoman, but thank you very much for these gracious words, and won't take up much of your time, I promise, because you certainly got a docket full of issues and challenges that you have to address, but this would have not been made possible for a dear friend, and I would be remiss if I certainly didn't point her out, Dr. Cherry Collier. Thank you very much. I've been blessed by this book, and this book has taken me, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, all over the world, as you have heard. But I just want to take a moment or two to pay back and to be a good steward of what I've been given. Years ago, I read a book more than, I guess, coming out of college, graduate school, called The Achieving Society by David McClellan. And in that book, he was a professor, almost 3 decades at Harvard University. And in that book, he said that every race, every ethnicity, every group, every culture, every tribe, every people has at least one individual to leave the keys to success for future generations. And when I saw there was an obvious void in the literature when it came to Black America, I knew my calling. Shortly after I read that book, the Lord spoke to me as he so often does, and it was an old issue of Time magazine discussing and highlighting and profiling Dr. Martin Luther King during the Montgomery bus boycott. And that Montgomery bus boycott from December 5, 381 days later, in profiling that, they listed that there were 5 black entrepreneurs, only 5 black millionaires in the country at the time. And I turned to my wife at the time and I said, Pat, I said, I want to interview these individuals. And it was in those 5, well, actually 4 was still living, 1 had made his transition, but it was in that process that my vision became crystal clear. That's where we are today. Again, I am humbled, I am honored, and I never forget the true measure of a well-lived life is not how big, how bold, how vast, how wealthy, how prosperous, how rich. The true measure of the well-lived life is how many lives you have touched along the way. And Councilwoman Overstreet and Dr. Cherry Collier, you have touched my life today, and I am eternally grateful. God bless.
Thank you.
Wow. And very well deserving. Could council please come and join us and we'll take a picture? Let's come here to the podium.
We'll now move to remarks by the public. I'll remind everyone that you have 2 minutes unless time is yielded from someone else. We'll begin with Henry Jordan.
Give now to the Spirit of God, everyone that's here. For nation shall rise against nations, and kingdom is against kingdom. And there shall be earthquake in divers places, and there shall be famine and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows. Mark 13, chapter 8 verse. Wars and rumors of wars refers to peace being taken from the earth, and the constant wars that have continually marked the age of the Gentiles. Rebuke the power of Satan in your lives, James Griff, or anyone. If not, you ask for death. The practice of sin will promote destruction. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Matthew 18, chapter 6, verse. Offenses are viewed as a reality that must be accepted in the present world. But woe to prophetic condemnation to death, to the one who is the source of the offense. Do you desire life or death, or do you desire heaven or hell? Jesus says, when you desire to place your behinds in my face, you ask for death. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment, Mark 12, chapter 30th verse. They establish the basis of love of God, for God, and the fact of God's being the Lord our God, the God who has covenant to redeem us to himself. To love God is to embrace his righteousness and gifts to deliver others and ourselves. Seeking to obey Jesus' word created the income. Christ said, I need to move into a bigger house and property to start his business. The homeless calling on Jesus to activate his next gift in me and others. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Time has
Matthew
expired.
24, chapter 12, verse. We need
has
Christ
expired.
more than he need us.
Next will be, and let me apologize in advance if I mispronounce anyone's name, Sufi Yan, I believe. And you'll have 4 minutes due to yielded time.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm one of the taxi drivers at the airports, and I'm here only to discuss with you guys and ask you a request from you to change the 7-year car age requirement that's imposed on us 5 years ago and change it to 10 years. The reason why is this: the day that you guys, this legislation was passed, we were like 1,600 taxi drivers. 800 of us became out of service at the airport. We tried our best to come up with the money. So this 7 years car age limit doesn't give the taxi drivers to make enough money to have the purchasing power to get the other car. So we think the 10 years will give us enough time to make the money and save the money to buy a car. So we're asking you, before you go for your holidays, to change once for all to 10 years car age requirement. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Next will be Jennifer Brooks.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Brooks. I live in downtown Atlanta, District 4. Thank you all for serving. Right now, all of the shared micromobility vendors are in violation of their operating permit requirements. So I'm asking you, please do not increase their hours of operation. The vendors are not reporting to you any data about user noncompliance, user injuries, scooter involvement in accidents, and scooters used in the commission of crimes. These are things I see every day in my neighborhood. Nothing good will come of late night scooting, especially in my neighborhood, which is the Central Business District. At the very least, if you go ahead with this legislation, please geofence the scooters away from my neighborhood, especially at night. One more thing I would like to address is in reference to the repaving around City Hall and the State Capitol. Not long ago, our city legal department confirmed that it's illegal for the city to do any projects that are not fully ADA compliant. And in regards to this particular paving project, it has been explained to me that there will not be MARTA mobility bus access to the curb for loading and unloading. May I respectfully ask for immediate and careful consideration of the MARTA mobility bus needs so that they can safely load and unload. Cars are allowed to cross the cycle lanes at driveways. Can we not allow the MARTA mobility bus to cross the cycle lanes so that they can safely load and unload at the entrances to these public buildings? Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Margie McLeod.
Good afternoon. I'm kind of sad. I had a person that called me, have cancer, and rent control. That's what I've been fighting for, rent control. And what happened, Section A, if we could put a cap on Section A, why we cannot put a cap on rent control? This young lady have cancer, breast cancer, have 3 kids. She cannot afford because they don't want to pay $1,700. And the rent control that she have is $1,400. Make Martin Luther King proud that we can do this. You could put initiative water bill, and you could get grants, and you could get paid people water bill. And why would you teach your people in your district that we can initiative, put rent control, have a petition? So when I come back, when y'all come back after Thanksgiving, y'all gonna have a lovely Thanksgiving dinner, Don't forget the people that's out there, still out there, under those bridges. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to constantly be down here. I'm going to have more people with me because we need rent control in the city of Atlanta. So make Martin Luther King proud because January will be his birthday. And he fought for the poor. And we are forgetting about them. Initiative, we could do this. I know we could do this, the city of Atlanta. So have a happy Thanksgiving. Be blessed.
Thank you. Next will be Ron Shakur. Due to yielded time, 4 minutes.
1 second. Martin Luther King was speaking of a time where African Americans in 1863 had become free from the brutality of chattel slavery, free from the brutality of chattel slavery. At that same period of time, there was immigrants that was getting off boats as free men entering into America, given free land to be able to participate as citizens. But the brutality of slavery did not spark the actions of legislators or presidents to be able to address the issues of the brutality and the recovery from that brutality. We are here be able to address this council that there need to be resources for communities that have been broken up and shaken up by gentrification. I've been attending some of the housing authority meetings and to see the citizens who have worked at this city council and now sits on the Atlanta Housing Authority. Those who worked for the Board of Education and now sits on the city council. Same issues when they was on those seats of housing of the Atlanta public schools. Schools were being closed in this city. We need to address the destabilization that's occurring in our community. When will the cold brutality of African Americans be addressed? I would say that we are addressing that today when we see Uber and Lyft, who have come up with some good initiatives, but we have taxi cab drivers who have been the backbone of this here city in its convention growth in the most busiest airport. But besides that, we need to address 1863 of making African American communities recover, but yet we see them being broke up with displacement of gentrification. Some of us live in beautiful neighborhoods, but those beautiful neighborhoods not long ago, after housing fairness, allow African Americans to move wherever they wanted to move, and they helped develop this here town of City of Atlanta, help elect city officials. But now these same city officials are about to be threatened because they're losing residents of African Americans. Every piece of legislation, Mr. Shipman, that I would hope that your president would advocate for, that we look at the impact of what's going to happen to these communities and to these businesses. They deserve an equal chance. They didn't get an equal chance in 1863. They worked for 300-400 years for nothing, and it was brutal. Let's not repeat the same thing. And I ask you for courage to stand up and try to make whole those who are being injured and have been injured. And when we see mothers and fathers with no place to stay, in houses where people have been evicted and the furniture been left there because they have no place to take it, because this city have ignored the resources in order to make these cities, by make these cities whole, have torn down public housing in the neighborhoods around them, in the schools that's around them are being threatened. threatened with new private schools and new initiatives. It's going to take courage to see the impact because we're not looking at it truthfully and openly. And I would hope that those who have gathered here who have been elected hear this voice and hear this cry. 1863, the brutality have never caused us to receive recovery. And I would hope that today, every piece of impact that comes upon this city measure what has happened to this community. Thank you.
Next will be George Seda.
My name is George Seda, one of the taxi driver. Just want to continue extending a part of the submission that one of our driver here has addressed our issues. First of all, I just want to thank members of this council for giving us this privilege to stand over here and to express our need. Though basically, I just want to refer you just a little back of what has happened just a little more than 1.5 to 2 years ago. We have remained loyal and optimistic to serve this city during the darkest moment of the whole world and the whole city. We had only 25% of our workforce sacrifice their life to maintain the visibility of service of taxi driving at the airport. Whereas many organizations were operating virtually, but we offered to provide the needed service to the great city of Atlanta and to the great airport of ours. Now, when it comes to this time, we are having 75% of the people you see sitting back here. This is part of them. Part of 75% of the workforce who are, by the end of the year, we are going to be without a job and are not going to be able to put food for their children on the table by the end of the year. We are seriously concerned because this is a matter of humanitarian. It's not just a matter of any facts, but this is a fact that is going to happen. The legislation that you have in front of you, our honorable members, is going to be considered either fail or not.
Time has expired.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
and that is my concern.
Next will be Jonas. For 2 minutes.
Hello, my name's Shamar Kionis. I'm a Atlanta Taxi Driver Association German, and I've been driving taxi actually since 1989. I started working at the Atlanta airport, starting as a young man on the driving the limousine, the shuttle. Now I'm working cab drivers for many years. We've been here so many years in here. Honestly, I work with the 5 mayors in the city of Atlanta. I started when the Bill Company was being here, and then Sherry Franklin, and then Kasim Mohammed Reed, and then Keisha, and then, you know, the other young man. So we've been here too long. And always we come in here looking for help. And honestly, we look from a lot of new faces here I never met. I know very much Mary Noble. We had another man we cannot forget, Anthony Lewis. He's the one took the ownership and believed in us when we came and saying, hey, we need help. We talked to him. He's saying, Ionis. Next day he met with us and saying, how can we help you? Saying, okay, 75% of the cab drivers, honestly, they're going to be out of business end of the year. So we came, we sit down together, we explaining all the hardship, the cab drivers being true. And then basically, you know, he took the ownership. He bring in all other people. I saw the signature, 10 other city councilor sign it, and I'm proud of, honestly, first time I see it, think it change it. We had as a good, bad, and actually all these different mayors we dealing last 30 years, to be honest with you. And honestly, I see this time light on the turn. We need you guys a good faith and help with these drivers. Have been lost a lot of good drivers in driving, when starting COVID-19. We still, giving people transportation. A lot of good cab drivers passed away from COVID. We never give up the hope. But this time, the time we need you guys showing up. Last time, the people blaming us the politics. God bless in the city, Martin. When I came here 30 years ago, nobody understand our language barrier, everything.
Time has expired.
He came with us and saying, a young man, after we finish the meeting, sit down here. He bringing all of us together. I'll never forget it. So now, honestly, we need you guys in help, and honestly, we need that 10 years age limit to be passed. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Lewis, brief remark.
I was mentioned by name. Now, I want to say it wasn't just me. It was Councilmember Michael Julian Bond who brought this to our attention, and then we worked with all of the council members to make sure we got this passed. This was a shared initiative by the City Council. Thank you.
Next will be Samuel Sotan. Next will be Ken Roebling.
Good afternoon, council members and Mr. President. Last time I talked about corruption effects on the city. I forgot to mention that the corruption also led to higher taxes. The council had to raise taxes to keep the city afloat. We also have the highest water bills in the country. At least we did at one time. I don't know if it's still that way. There's $30 million on the consent agenda to help the sewers out. I hope that gets rid of the federal consent agenda that we're under, or we have been under. Now the Fulton County is talking about raising taxes. At least that's what I heard. Are they dealing with corruption as well, or are they just incompetent? They seem to be having problems with their jail. Too many people in the jail. They're coming here to ask us for our jail. We've spent $100 million on that jail a number of years ago. It's a pretty good jail. Is Fulton County going to ask us to give up some of our taxes so they can raise theirs? I don't think we need to be working with them unless they can justify their raising taxes. It seems that the corruptors have an insatiable appetite for taxpayer funds. Watch them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Ricky Brown. Due to yielded time, you'll have 4 minutes.
Good evening. Good to see all of the councilmen. My name is Ricky Brown. I'm a business owner in the city of Atlanta. My company is Next Step Staffing. Before I say that, I was talking to Dewan, and I want to say to all of the city councilmen, we are so proud of y'all. We saw every one of y'all here at council when I first came in, and just to see all of you here at one time, it was just amazing to see. So I just want to thank y'all for that. You know, my company is a company that I started my company in 2010 to help ex-offenders like me. I served 13 years in federal prison. I came home and I couldn't get a job. So God gave me a vision to create my own job to help people like me. These gentlemen, these taxi drivers, for some reason, my office has been a magnet for people that come and they have issues and they want somebody to speak for them. For some reason, I don't know why, But when these guys came and they had somebody, they wanted somebody to talk and speak for them, I was happy to do that simply because these men's livelihood, these taxi drivers' livelihoods is standing in the way of this. And we want to make sure that they're whole, because I remember before the Ubers and the Lyfts, these were the same guys that was taking our grandmamas and our aunties to the doctor, to the pharmacy, to the schools. So we want to respect that. But not only that, and I'm going to hold them responsible as well. As we move into a new age, we need to find some funding to help them get some electric cars. So our city will be what we want it to be. So as you guys look at this and hopefully pass this and give them some time to get some money together, and hopefully we could come together to help them. I'm always a voice for the voiceless, and they deserve it. They've taken care of our city for many, many years before all of us, some of us. So we want to respect that. And as people come to my office, I'll come and I always speak up for them if they need somebody to. So just to thank y'all for just being who you are. I remember running for city council myself. I'll never do it again. So I know it's a hard job. It's a hard job. So my city councilman, Byron Amos, good to see him today, just doing a great job in District 3. And my friend, Antonio Lewis, is just a godsend. And just to see his spirit in this council is just great. So for all of you in the city of Atlanta, and this is a good day, I think, for the cab drivers of the city of Atlanta, as we come together to save them, to give them an opportunity to succeed and to compete with those big companies. I know how it is to compete, because small businesses, these are small businesses, and small businesses are struggling in this city. So we want to make sure that we try to keep them whole, and if we find some funding to help them get to that level, electric cars and those levels, let's do that. All right? Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Next will be DeJuan Robinson.
Good afternoon, Councilman. I'm only going to talk for probably less than the 2 minutes, because what I have to
Sorry, the next speaker was DeJuan Robinson.
I thought you said Yolanda Robertson.
No, sorry, DeJuan Robinson.
Okay.
You're on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Just a little further down. Thank you.
You want me to finish?
Yeah, you already at the podium.
Okay.
What's wrong with this?
Now,
She on the list.
They calling you up there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. I want to, Liliana, I read this thing what you spoke out about, this rent control and trying to get this thing that I want to say. I really appreciate that. I appreciate council as a whole. I've been seeing you guys. I'm, for one, don't like to come down on new council, because I know it takes time to learn the job and get acclimated. And you guys have really been doing a great job. I'm not going to say a good job. You've done a great job. As someone born and raised here, been seeing lackluster effort out of council as a whole. And I mean, I'm very proud. We're moving in the right direction. We got a chief of police that I believe in. I think he's going to get sworn in sometime today by you guys. And I think that you guys are taking the initiative and not just being told what to do by the higher ups. And I really appreciate that, because Atlanta, it really is a tale of two cities. I mean, we want to portray the black Mecca, but at the same time, we're #1 in America for income inequality. Can't have it both ways. And like I said, we're moving in the right direction, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And even the 2 years that the taxi may get approved of is still a step in the right direction. But moving forward, we have to understand that council have the power. Council have the power. We need 8 votes every time. We can stop whatever is trying to be done that the city is not a good fit for the city. Council, you guys and women, you have the power. And I just want you guys to just exercise that and just know that in the times are coming ahead. You know what I'm saying? Because people are really not just losing their lives out here to gun violence, but people are really losing their lives by losing their homes. and we got to understand our seniors are being forced out of their homes systematically.
Time has expired.
Council President, can I ask for 2 minutes?
The rules don't allow, I'm sorry.
You changed the rules? Because I know
No,
earlier this year.
I was mistaken before. The council rules don't allow that, I'm sorry. I had made a mistake when I did it that day.
So you made a mistake.
I did. It happens.
New on the job. I got you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Derek Blassingame. 2 minutes.
I appreciate the opportunity to address Atlanta City Council today. I'm hailing from the Glen Rose Heights community. We are forming our civic association. We are the largest neighborhood in MPUZ. We are the largest voting block in MPUZ. We have not been represented here at City Hall, and we are organizing our representation, and we will be moving this council to recognize us as the official civic association, the official neighborhood group in the Glen Rose Heights community. We've been working diligently to get our bylaws together, and we will be on the agenda very shortly here. Now, I have an issue with Council District 12. I've had several people call me since we've been convening meetings with the Civic Association that they are not able to reach the member who now sits in that seat. Now, I know what all these accolades and applauds, but what about those people who are senior citizens who are trying to get answers from their council member? They can't reach you because every time we call, all we get is a voicemail. Please leave a message. We'll return your call 12 weeks ago and haven't received one. So what we're calling for is we need a council member in Council District 12 who is a man who can stand up to the people and see the bigger picture that our neighborhood is located between two major interstates, yet we have no voice and no representation at 55 Trinity Avenue. Now, let me say this here. This body needs to reconvene the Human Relations Commission or drop the slogan, the city too busy to hate. How can you be too busy to hate when you're too busy, including you, Mayor Dickens, to reconvene the Human Relations Commission, the body designated to investigate hate claims in this city? What a hypocrite. The Atlanta police, we want them visible on Empire Boulevard and Glen Rose Heights immediately. We have issues with car break-ins, thefts, and vandalisms along this street. It's a high tax base. I've done the research for Fulton County. We want the Atlanta Police Department on our street more often. This is the question that we're posing. If we cannot get active, if we cannot get involved in the Glen Rose Heights community representation in this body, the question that we have had, because many citizens in Glen Rose said we have seen Hateville police in our neighborhood more than time. The question we ask City Council is, shall the taxpayers of the Glen Rose Heights community
Time has expired.
petition to be annexed by the city of Hateville? That is the question that is on the table for the people of Glen Rose Heights. Derek Blassingame, the government watchdog. Derek Blassingame, I'm not a member of the LGBTQ community. I love women. My grandparents were married for 68 years. My mother and dad was married for 34 years. My great-grandmother was married. I represent my interests as a black man who has seen injustice throughout his life. I have been in this city since I was born, and I'm physically present here to tell you all we want representation on behalf of the Glen Rose Heights community immediately. We demand it, or I'm going to mount a campaign to get you out of it. You understand me, boy?
Mr. Blassingame, your time has expired. Mr. Lewis, did you want to comment?
I would just hope that we run a better meeting, because no one should be able to come down here.
Mr. Blassingame, you are out of line. Mr.
I was
Blassingame,
granted 2 minutes.
if you cannot be seated, I'll have to have you removed from the meeting. Mr. Blassingame, you're finished.
So I'm just hoping that when people come down and yell, because I don't respond to people calling me I don't respond to people calling me a boy at all. And so that's the language that he'll use towards me, but that's what they're going to use toward me anyway. I know how it's going to come. And I'm the easiest person to get in contact with. My phone number, my personal phone number, we knock on doors right now. I live in Glen Rose. I own property over there. I'm over there every day. We come down here. I'm part of it. I'm there knocking doors. I just left the barbershop. Just had a meeting at the barbershop with a citizen in which we got him some help, connecting him with Sheriff Pat Labatt himself. Literally, just left I go to all the football games, every game, every sports team. I'm there. I'm knocking on doors constantly today. But when you send someone down here to call me a boy, who would do that to me? Right here, right now. What we're trying to represent with the city of Atlanta. Young black man from Cleveland Avenue. Man, come down here and call me a boy. That's what y'all sitting down here after me? Come on, man. Come on. They called me a thug when I was on the campaign. I was president of my elementary school, middle school, high school. And then when I went to college, I was president of my college. Then I went and worked for President Barack Obama. Then I went and worked on Capitol Hill. You come down here and call me a boy?
Now,
Come
you
on,
address
man.
a man, you can address me. You can address me privately,
I
or you
ain't
can
a-
address me like
Mr.
a man.
Blassingame, I'm afraid you're gonna have to.
That's why I said, I
Mr.
hope we can run a
Blassingame,
meeting to
please, you
where,
have to be removed.
I hope we can run a meeting to
Thank you,
where,
Mr. Blassingame.
In this context, whenever I had two members, the
You
privilege
have
of
to be
two members,
removed,
you're
sir.
a coward.
You cannot
You're
hold
a coward.
yourself.
Oh, you're a coward. You're a coward. You are a coward. And I'm going to unseat you. I'm running for your seat. You understand me, boy? Now, this is a black man talking to a boy. You need a woman to escort you in the city council chambers? You a boy. What's up? What's up? I'm from Cincinnati. What's up?
Mr. Clerk, please note per rules of council.
I
that
appreciate
Mr.
you, Council
Blassingame-
President.
Just hold on just a second. Would you please note per rules of council, Mr. Blassingame's future participation will be limited?
duly noted.
Thank you.
That's what I was looking for. I appreciate you, Council President. I was just looking for somebody to make sure that when that happens, that it's handled like that.
We appreciate you, Lewis. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Next will be Prophet Curtis Harrison for 2 minutes.
Well, you know me. I don't come down here like that. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to say call about a boy or girl or B word and all that. I'm never going to do that. You can write that down. I never do that like that. But I am serious about homeless people in our streets. So I am serious about people down underneath our bridges, though. I got fired off a job here in the city. I got fired off of 3 jobs in Atlanta, Fulton County, DeKalb County. But see, you got to understand something. Riot is when people can't take it no more. That's the definition of riot. So you're not talking to no dummies when you come with riot means that we didn't say we did everything else. When folks try to riot, when folk get upset, when folk don't get no calls back, when people don't get what they want out with y'all getting paid by our tax money. When people get upset, this is what happens. So y'all want to kick their brother out. But when y'all do wrong, do y'all get kicked out? But I'm not going to call you out your name though. But then when you get frustrated, and when people get frustrated like that, we don't act like that in that sense. But at the same time, though, that man's upset. That man's frustrated. That black man's frustrated. That black man's frustrated. I don't see no white guys at this podium acting like that because they're not frustrated. So let's make that point. Okay, no. You got black men and women living on the bridges. You don't talk to me like that because I know what's going on. I'm a prophet of God for real. I know every pastor in this city and beyond. And I can get them at this podium if I want to. Write that down. Now, what I'm saying to you, City Council, is this. That man's frustrated. That man's angry. But y'all kick that man out. But I'm walking past girls that want to kill themselves because they're homeless. I'm walking past girls that's mentally gone, don't know what city they live in, and they're home living out in the cold weather. Y'all got power to do that and change that from the mayor, from the government, all the way down. These people, I'm frustrated, but I'm not going to call you out your name. But like I said, no justice, no peace. You got to understand that. You got to understand something. No justice, no peace.
Time's expired.
Y'all's time going to be expired too. Y'all's time's expiring too. Write that down.
Yolanda Robertson, 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. What I'm going to say, it's not going to take a long time. I've been in Atlanta for a long time, and I have seen our property values go up, and the city just become unaffordable. Phone call after phone call where people are trying any type of means to take our properties away from us. Not only the people that are the investors, they have people working on the inside doing things with code enforcement, the water bills, everything to try to take our properties away from us. And something needs to be done to curtail this. If you get these jobs, you need to do financial disclosures so that you're not getting paid by investors to take properties away from people. And I know we're not going to accomplish anything today because I've called up here too. I'm frustrated as well. I had a hard time getting everything. My email address for those of you that are interested is YROBERSO YROBERSO@yahoo.com. That's YROBERSO@yahoo.com. We need to organize a committee, make our voices get an agenda together, and present our votes as a collective. The way one of us vote in that committee, all of us are going to vote. And the committee is going to call AAG, Atlanta's Against Gentrification. That's Y as in yellow, R as in Robert, O as in orange, B as in boy, E as in egg, R as in Robert, S as in Sam, O as in orange, at yahoo.com. Atlanta's Against Gentrification, so we can get together and not just have 2 minutes, but we can discuss how these changes, people coming from different cities, large cities, bringing different strategies to take our homes from us. Things that we work for, they want to steal them from us. They don't want to pay us what the property is worth. They want to find a scheme or a scam. And it's wrong. Y'all have a blessed health, whatever it is.
Thank you. The final speaker today will be James Davenport. 2 minutes.
Mr. President, if you mind if I get somebody to distribute these, please. Thank you for allowing me to be in your presence today. First, giving honor to God, who I oftentimes call my conductor. I don't have a PhD, but I do have a GOD. December 13th, which is coming up, 2013, my brother was killed, hit and run pedestrian fatality, as you see he's had. We will have a candlelight vigil. I am going to be petitioning the governor for a day of awareness. Next year, we're going to petition the president. More pressing at this time, a couple of days ago, on October the 15th, a gentleman breached our building and actually stole those cash cards and whatever. And I have contacted some of you concerning this. Mr. Faroki, well, wherever you are, it's sad that I'm in your district. I only had a conversation with you one time in the hall. Call you. You never answer. Your staff never answers. That is sad. It does not make sense. I've actually petitioned you all to actually go along with the mayor. Mr. Bond's the only one who's responded concerning providing free Lyft rides for senior citizens, and you all are familiar with what I'm talking about. Now let's get to the matter at hand. What you have there, last Sunday, I live at 355 North Avenue, Cosby Square High Rise. I had an anxiety attack. I had to call the police. I had an anxiety attack. I had to call the police. I had an anxiety attack for the third time. This third time, and if you all would call me, you would get the information concerning it. This officer treated me like a rag doll, put me in handcuffs, and I said, what you doing? He said, I'm taking you to the hospital. I said, you don't have to put handcuffs on me. I said, sir, I have a torn rotator cuff. Now I need assistance putting my coat on. This man left these handcuffs on me after I begged him. We at Grady, I'm there for 30 minutes. Him snatching me around, handcuffs still on.
Time has expired.
I have to have another MRI. My rotator cuff cannot be repaired again. It's torn for the third time.
Time has expired.
God bless the city of Atlanta. You will be hearing from me again. Everybody know I'm a people person. I live my life tooting the horn for other people. I don't think I can stand for this one. Thank you so much.
I want to thank all the members of the public for their remarks today. And next, we'll move to a report of the Journal. Mr. Clerk.
I, Forrest Webb III, Municipal Clerk, do certify that the action minutes of the November 7th, 2021 City Council meeting are true and correct.
If there are not any changes to the Journal, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the minutes. Moved by Councilmember Juan, seconded by Councilmember Amos. Any discussion of the adoption of the minutes? We can do this via unanimous consent without objection. Any objection to the motion to adopt? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent of members present is 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries. We'll now move to communications. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, I have 2 items, if I can sound them as a block.
Without objection, please proceed.
22-C-5181, a communication from Christopher Brown, Chair of the Atlanta Planning Advisory Board, Public Safety Committee, accepting service of the Public Safety Commission for the City of Atlanta. 22-C-5182, a communication from Municipal Clerk and Election Superintendent Forrest Webb III, submitting the certification of official and complete statement of votes cast and election summary for both Fulton and DeKalb County Board of Registration and Elections regarding the general/municipal special election held November 8th, 2022. Staff recommendation to accept and file both items.
Let both items follow that course. Is there any vetoed legislation for consideration, Mr. Clerk?
There are none, Mr. President.
Is there any unfinished business?
There are no items, Mr. President.
Okay, with that, we will move to the consent agenda. Section 1 can be found on page 4 of your materials. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? Councilmember Shook.
Yes, I need to remove for the purposes of proposing an amendment on page 9, 22-0-1836, the Bagley Park renaming, 22-0-1836, page 9.
Okay, Councilmember Hillis.
Thank you, Mr. President. For purposes of filing and the committee reports, I want to pull 22-0-1819 off consent as item number 20.
Which page is that on? That's on page 8, is that correct?
It says here, item number 20. I don't have.
Yeah, it's page 8.
Sorry.
Yep, thank you. Councilmember Farokhi.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I'd like to remove item 2 on page 10, 22R 4521.
Any other items? Thank you, Mr. Farokhi. Any other items? All right. Hearing no other items, I would entertain a motion to adopt Section 1 with these 3 removals. Sorry, who made the original motion? Councilmember Bakhtiari moved, seconded by Councilmember Overstreet. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt consent agenda Section 1 with the 3 items removed? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt the consent agenda.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Please continue to vote. The vote is now closed. Yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries. We'll now move to the consent agenda. Councilmember Wan, yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, there are 3 items that I'd like to make a motion to move to the mayor's office for signature post haste. First 2 are on page 6. Item number 10, 22-01818. This is the helicopter purchase paper. Item number 14, which is 22-01830. This is for a contract procurement agreement with Covendis on-call IT services. And item on page 7, item 15, 22-01831. This is a lease agreement for Clear Creek Shopping Center. So motion is to move to the office of the mayor post haste.
There's been a motion by Councilmember Wan, seconded by Councilmember Shook, to move 3 items, 22-0-1818, 1830, and 1831, post haste to the mayor's office. Is there any discussion on the motion to move post haste? If there's no objection, we do this via unanimous consent. Is any objection to move post haste? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent on the motion to move post haste.
Unanimous consent of members present is 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to move post haste carries. We'll now move to the consent agenda section 2. These are items beginning on page 30 of the materials. These are items for first read, so the appropriate motion is to refer. First, let me ask, is there any item from the consent agenda section 2 to be removed? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to refer. Moved by Councilmember Juan, seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Any discussion on the motion to refer? Hearing none, we will move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to refer the consent agenda, Section 2.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays, the motion to refer carries. I would make one note before we move to standing committees. There was one item that I should have noted that was an error on the consent agenda 22-R-4598. That will actually show up in CDHR's report. So with that, we will move to the standing committees. First up, Transportation Committee. Chair Faruqi.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, we have 4 items today on the Transportation Committee report. The first is 22R 4521, which is the item I pulled off of consent agenda. I would like to hold this in the breast of council. This is the paper to extend scooter hours from 9 to midnight. It came out of committee unanimous, but I want to hold it for till our next council meeting to double check a few things with our police department. So I will move to hold this in the breast of council.
There's a motion by Councilmember Faruqi, seconded by Councilmember Overstreet, to hold in the breast of council. This is not a debatable motion, so we'll move immediately to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to hold in the breast of council.
Please hold. Please continue to hold. Please continue to hold. The vote is now open. Please continue to vote. The vote is now closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays on the motion to table.
12 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries.
Our next item is 22-0-1808. Came out of committee, 4 yeas, 1 abstention. The caption reads, an ordinance by Transportation Committee waiving the Code of Ordinances source selection provisions contained in Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute Amendment Number 2 to the airport use and lease agreement with Delta Airlines, Inc. that allows the surrender and addition of certain space on Concourse D for design and construction of an airline club and certain design and construction work for Concourse D, widening at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, authorizing reimbursement to Delta Airlines, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $166 million. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Again, this item came out of committee, 4 yeas, 1 abstention. I'll move to approve.
There's a motion to approve coming out of committee. It does not need a second. 22-0-1808. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve? Councilmember Waits.
Yes, sir. I'd like to abstain at the appropriate time.
What's the reason for the abstention?
Financial conflict.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-0-1808.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention.
12 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention as noted. The motion to adopt carries.
Our next item is 22-0-1828. This item came out of committee favorable with 4 yeas with 1 abstention. It reads an ordinance by council members Antonio Lewis, Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland, Keisha Sean Ways, Jason H. Winston, Byron D. Amos, Liliana Bakhtiari, Andre L. Boone, and Dustin Hillis as substituted by Transportation Committee to amend the Atlanta Code of Ordinance, Chapter 22, so as to extend the permissible age of taxi or rideshare vehicle from 7 years to 10 years and for other purpose.
Motion coming out of committee to adopt. Doesn't need a second. 22-0-1828. Any discussion on the motion to adopt? Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I was the 1 abstention in committee. I think we had a good conversation about the challenges that are facing the industry right now, largely due to the supply chain challenges in terms of just purchasing new cars, used vehicles, and I agree that it would cause undue hardship to impose the age limit on the taxis and ride shares during this period. In speaking with law and the administration, I think the more appropriate way of going about this is to, rather than amend the code, is to simply do a time waiver of 2 years, which we obviously can extend if the supply chain issues continue, and then continue to look for ways to support both the cab industry and those that represent our city when visitors come or those that are in the city use. So with that, I have a substitute that has been emailed to everybody that captures this. Again, it changes the form a little bit in a waiver of the time through December 31st of 2024, and keeps the option open for us to extend it at that point. So I'll make a motion to bring that substitute forward.
There's a motion to substitute seconded by Councilmember Overstreet. We'll now move to discussion on the motion to substitute. Councilmember Waits? No. Okay. Discussion on the motion to bring forth the substitute. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to bring forth the substitute.
Please hold. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
Thirteen yeas, 0 nays. The motion to bring forth the substitute carries. We'll now move back to the main question, which is the motion to adopt, but now as substituted by Councilmember Juan. Councilmember, we're in discussion. Councilmember Waits.
Mr. Chair, just simply wanted to echo again what's already been said this afternoon to Councilmember Bond as well as Lewis, thanking them for their leadership on this particular piece of policy that I think is critical and important. The transportation meeting happens very early in the morning, and so for the record and to the public, we just want to again express our gratitude for your leadership on this. Thank you.
Councilmember Lewis.
Once again, this was a team project. I want to say I appreciate you, Councilmember One, to make sure that we put this sunset clause on it, because I think that once people get back up to code, we can go back to the 7 years or even look at another way. And we can come back to start talking more as a group, which is what I commend Councilmember Bond on bringing this question forward, because there are other issues that the taxi drivers want to talk about. We're looking at other cities and things they got, and I want to be better than everybody else. I just think Atlanta's just supposed to be better. So I appreciate y'all for bringing forth this legislation. Let's go.
Any other comments, discussion on the motion to adopt as substituted 22-0-1828? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt as substituted.
The vote is open. vote is now closed. 12 yeas, 1 nay, with the chair being the nay. Apologies, Mr. President, we can't modify the
No worries.
display at the moment.
12 yeas, 1 nay. The motion to adopt as substituted carries. Chair Faroki. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. It's Thanksgiving week, so I'll allow clapping for 1 second. Chair Faroki.
Thank you. Our final item, 22R 4616. This came out of committee, 4 yeas and 1 abstention. A resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari is substituted by Transportation Committee requesting the mayor or his designee prohibit parking on the following streets located in the Sweet Auburn neighborhood: on the east side of Hillier Street from Auburn Avenue to Old Wheat Street, on the east side of William H. Borders Drive from Decatur Street to Chamberlain Street, on the west side of Fitzgerald Street from Todd Street to Chamberlain Street, on the south side of Todd Street from Jackson Street to Boulevard Southeast, to request that the Atlanta Department of Transportation install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited areas and for other purposes. Again, came out of committee, 4 yeas, 1 abstention.
There's a motion to adopt coming out of committee. It doesn't need a second. 22-R-4616. Is there discussion on the motion to adopt? Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Just quick, motion to amend, just changing in the second whereas clause from gang-related activity to illicit activity.
There's a motion to amend. Could you just repeat the phrase that you want to amend?
Yes, the second whereas clause where it says, whereas there has been ongoing and persistent drug and gang-related activity should be changed to drug and illicit-related activity, or illicit activity, sorry, drug and illicit activity.
Drug and illicit activity. There's a motion by Councilmember Bakhtiari to amend, seconded by Councilmember Wan. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to amend.
Please hold.
Gang is not accurate, and that's the reason that Antonio,
The vote is now open. Will everyone please vote?
together.
The vote is now closed. 11 yeas, 0 nays.
11 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to amend carries. We'll now move back to the motion to adopt 22-R-4616 as amended. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 11 yeas, 0 nays.
11 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
That concludes the Transportation Committee report.
Thank you, Chair Faroki. Next, we'll move to Finance Exec, Chair Wan.
Sorry, I'll blame it on the clerk. All right, colleagues, on page 42 of the agenda, first item is 22-C-5169, a communication from Danielle Hampton, Chair Audit Committee, submitting the City Auditor's Office fiscal 2023 audit schedule. Motion from the committee is to accept and file.
There's a motion from the committee. It doesn't need a second to accept and file 22-C-5169. Is there any discussion on the motion to accept and file? Given this communication, we do this via unanimous consent without objection. Any objection to the motion to accept and file? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent of members present is 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to accept and file carries.
All right, next item is a resolution. It's 22-R-4685, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise the second renewal option for FC 10347 roof repair replacement and maintenance services with Rikers Construction LLC on behalf of the Departments of Enterprise Asset Management, Aviation, Corrections, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, and Watershed Management, effective November 14, 2022 through November 13, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $680,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes. Motion from the committee is to file.
There's a motion coming out of committee to file 22-R-4685. It doesn't need a second. Any discussion on the motion to file? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file.
Please hold. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Please vote. The vote is now closed. 10 yeas, 0 nays.
10 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Wan. Next up will be Committee on Council, Chair Boone. Councilmember Norwood will deliver the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. President. Good afternoon, everyone. Please turn to page 46 on your agenda for the report of the Standing Committee of the Committee on Council. Mr. President, may I please sound items 1 through 5? They were found favorable in today's meeting.
Without objection, please proceed.
The first is 22C-5173, a communication from Council members Jason Winston, District 1, Amir Faroki, District 2, Byron Amos, District 3, Jason Dozier, District 4, and Michael Julian Bond, Post 1 at Large, appointing Ms. Stacy Key to serve as a member of the City of Atlanta Procurement Reform Task Force. Number 2 is 22C-5174, a communication from Council members Jason Winston, District 1, Amir Faroki, District 2, Byron Amos, District 3, Jason Dozier, District 4, and Michael Julian Bond, Post 1 at Large, appointing Ms. Miracle Fletcher to serve as a member of the Housing Commission. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. Third, 22C-5175, a communication from Council members Dustin Hillis, District 9, Andrea Boone, District 10, Marcy Collier Overstreet, District 11, Antonio Lewis, District 12, and Keisha Shawn Waits, Post 3 at Large, appointing Sergeant Isaac Thomas to serve as a member of the Atlanta Commission on Veterans Affairs. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. The fourth is 22C-5178, a communication from Council President Doug Shipman appointing Ms. Layla Campani to serve as a member of the Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. The fifth is a communication from Mayor Andre Dickens appointing Mr. Darren Sherbaum to serve as the Chief of the Atlanta Police Department for the City of Atlanta. These items were all favorable. Motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt these items. Is there, it's coming out of committee. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt these items? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Given the nature of one of the communications, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a full vote. So, Mr. Clerk, would you please open the vote on the motion to adopt these 5 items?
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt these items carries. Oh, please reflect Councilmember Wan as an aye.
Duly noted. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt these items carries.
Next item is 220-1822, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Council, Division 3, Standing and Other Committees, Subdivision 1, Standing Committee, Section 2-132, Appointment Term, vacancy to provide for committee meetings to be held on 3 days of the week preceding council meetings and for other purposes. This item was favorable. I make a motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt coming out of committee. It does need a second. 22-0-1822. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. Councilmember Overstreet. Councilmember Overstreet, how would you like your vote reflected? Councilmember Overstreet's an aye.
Duly noted. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
All right, Mr. President, that completes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Norwood. Next up, we have Zoning Committee. Chair Overstreet.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, let's do our zoning committee. Everyone, please turn your agendas to page 48. And we'll start with ordinances for second read. I would like to take items 1 and 2 as a block.
Without objection, please proceed.
All right, legislative number 1, 22-0-1697, case number Z-22-70, location Grove Park. Purpose is the ordinance is to rezone certain properties in the Grove Park community from R4A, single-family residential, to R5C, two-family residential conditional. Number 2, 22-0-1708, case number U-22-23, location 902 Pinehurst Terrace, Southwest. The ordinance is for a special use permit for a garden club. Items number 1 and number 2 are favorable as amended, so I make a motion to adopt as amended.
There's a motion to adopt 22-0-1697 and 22-0-1708 as amended coming out of committee. It does need a second. Any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt these 2 items.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Please vote.
Councilmember Waits is an aye.
The vote is now closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt these 2 items carries.
Okay, items number 3 through 8 are first reads, and I would like to take these as a block.
Without objection, please proceed.
And number 3, 22-0-1856, case number Z-22-74, location 1063 Ormond Avenue Southeast. The ordinance is to rezone from R4BL, single-family residential beltline overlay, to R4A BL, single-family residential beltline overlay. Number 4, 22-0-1857, case number Z-22-76, location 1051 Moreland Drive Southeast and 1721 Woodland Avenue Southeast. The ordinance is to rezone from R4 Single Family Residential to MR2 Multifamily Residential. Number 5, 22-0-1858, case number Z-22-81. The location is 2804 Yates Drive Northwest. The ordinance is to rezone from RG3 Residential General Sector 3 to PDMU, Planned Development Mixed Use. Number 6, 22-0-1859, case number U-22-22, location 1085 Howell Mill Road Northwest. The ordinance is for a special use permit for a park for hire surface parking lot. Number 7, 22-0-1860, case number U-22-24, location 1084 Piedmont Avenue Northwest and 1094 Piedmont Avenue Northwest. The ordinance is for a special use permit for an eating and drinking establishment. And number 8, 22-0-1861, case number U-22-25, location 1998 Hosea L. Williams Drive Northeast. The ordinance is for a special use permit for a retail establishment. The motion is to refer items number 3 through number 8 to ZRB and Zoning Committee.
There's a motion to refer items 3 through 8 to the ZRB and the Zoning Committee by Councilmember Overstreet. Is there a second? By Councilmember Juan. Is there any discussion on the motion to refer these items? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to refer.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is now closed. Twelve yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. Mr. Lewis, how would you? Aye. Mr. Bond? Aye. Please reflect Mr. Bond and Mr. Lewis's votes as ayes.
Duly noted, 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to refer carries.
Mr. President, that does conclude our Zoning Committee. And I would also like to suspend the rules so that we can hear from our new Chief of Police, Mr. Chief Shearbaum.
There's a motion to allow Chief Shearbaum to briefly address the council by Councilmember Overstreet, second by Councilmember Juan. We do this via unanimous consent. Without objection, any objection? Mr. Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent to suspend the rules to let the chief come forward.
Unanimous consent of members present is 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank
Chief
you.
Shearbaum, I'd invite you up to the podium after your confirmation. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, President Shipman, members of the council. Good afternoon. I want to again thank Mayor Dickens for his support and his nomination to be Chief of Police of the city. I'm humbled by that nomination, and I'm very mindful of the responsibility that now rests here. But I want to thank you also for the vote today of confirmation to that. And just always want to thank you for supporting the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department. Many of you know those that protect your district. These are great men and women that work every day serving you in our 911 center, our crime scene techs, and out on patrol. So thank you for all that you do to encourage them to live in our city, encourage them to continue to be with the Atlanta Police Department. We are a great city, I believe, because of the collaboration that this department has with each of you as we protect your constituents in all 245 of our neighborhoods. So please know, moving forward, you have my full support. My phone rings 24/7. Anytime I can be of assistance to you, your constituents, any of your neighborhoods, the Atlanta Police Department is here to serve, and I look forward to working with you all over the next number of weeks and months to come. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Shearbaum. We appreciate your service. Next, we will move to city utilities. Chair Shook.
No report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so excited to hear from Chair Shook that I skipped over Chair Hillis. My apologies. Public Safety and Legal Administration, Chair Hillis.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have two items. One ordinance for first read is 22-0-1819, which was the item pulled off consent. The author of this paper has requested that it be filed, so I'll make a motion to file.
There's a motion to file 22-0-1819 by Councilmember Hillis. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Overstreet. Is there any discussion on the motion to file? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file.
One moment, please. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
Next item, Resolution 22R4602, resolution by Councilmember Dustin Hillis, is substituted by Public Safety Legal Administration Committee, authorizing the mayor and the chief of corrections to enter into reemployment temporary service agreements to be renewed annually, but for no more than 4 years, with retired City of Atlanta corrections officers at the rank of captain and below for the purposes of providing continuing public safety services for the City of Atlanta Corrections Department and for other purposes. Vote out of the committee was 5 yeas, 1 abstention, so the motion is to adopt.
There's a motion coming out of committee to adopt 22-R-4602. It does not need a second, so we'll move to discussion. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Councilmember Bond?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Chair Hillis. I abstained in committee because a family member of mine had been in conversations with members of the corrections staff. I do not believe that they had accepted a position or will accept a position, but in an abundance of caution, I abstained, and I will do so here today.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Any other discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-R-4602.
The vote is open. Will all members please vote? The vote is closed. 11 yeas, 1 abstention.
11 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. The motion to adopt carries.
That completes my report, but we will need to have that executive session after we're done with other matters for discuss the settlement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hillis. Just to follow the agenda, I want to return to Chair Shook for his city utilities report.
Thank you. We continue to have no report.
Thank you. Finally today, Community Development Human Services Committee, Chair Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. When we met this morning, I had 1 item on report, and now I have 3, so bear with me. The first item is Resolution 22-R-4684, which is a resolution by the Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contractual agreement on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation with Kitzberg, Parker, Fry, JV, Lichty Commercial Construction Incorporated, and Silco Contracting Company Incorporated under 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program in an amount not to exceed $950,000.00 for ADA improvements in playgrounds, projects, and other purposes. This item, the administration, particularly the Department of Parks and Recreation, asked us to file this paper. They're working on a change to another paper that will allow for them to do this project as well as some other things.
Was the motion file coming out of committee?
Yes.
So there's a motion to file coming out of committee 22-R-4684. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to file? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays, the motion to file carries.
All right, next item is Resolution 22-R-4598. This is a resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis, Keisha Shawn Waits, and Jason Winston, as substituted by the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee, waiving and releasing the outstanding lien in the amount of $86,187.05 on approximately 3.65 acres of real property located at 3724 Forest Park Road, Atlanta, Georgia, for the purpose of transfer of the property to the City of Atlanta to be dedicated for a public park, as is permitted under the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, Part 3, Land Development Code, Appendix E, Article 5, Section 56, and for other purposes. Colleagues, this was favorable on substitute by the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee. This came out of, I recognize that even though this passed out of CDHS unanimously, there was an abstention on the PSLA side of this, and so that's why it is not on consent agenda and why we're voting on it today or right now. So just wanted to clarify that, but this was favorable on substitute out of committee.
There's a motion coming out of committee to adopt 22-R-4598 as substituted. It does not need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt 22-R-4598.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 15 yeas, 0 nays.
15 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries.
All right, and our last item was pulled off of consent earlier today. This is ordinance 22-0-1836, an ordinance by Councilmember Howard Shook as substituted by the Community Development and Human Services Committee to rename Frankie Allen Park to Historic Bagley Park and name the athletic fields as the Frankie Allen Fields, to waive certain provisions of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances relating to the dedication of public places within the City of Atlanta which are not applicable where a dedication is initiated by the City of Atlanta and for other purposes. Colleagues, this item was favorable out of committee. However, I believe the author had an amendment that he wanted to add to this paper.
So there's a motion to adopt coming out of committee 22-0-1836. It doesn't need a second. Discussion on the motion to adopt, Councilmember Shook.
Thank you, colleagues. You have been emailed the following proposed amendment, which addresses language currently in the fifth whereas, which states currently that Mr. William Bagley, whom the park will, his name will revert back to the ownership of the park, or it's being renamed after him. Currently, the language says he came to Fulton County after abandoning his 84-acre farm. In fact, as the rest of the clause notes, he was forced to flee during the terrible racial violence that occurred in 1912. And so what my amendment does is simply make it more historically accurate by swapping abandoning for being forced to flee. That's my amendment.
There's a motion to amend by Councilmember Shook. There was a second. Sorry, who made the second? Councilmember Westmoreland. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to amend.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays, the motion to amend carries.
I'd like to
Councilmember Dozier,
amend that,
would you-
please. 15 yeas, 0 nays.
15 yeas, 0 nays, the motion to amend carries. Now we'll move back to the motion to adopt as amended. Any discussion on the motion to adopt as amended? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 15 yeas, 0 nays.
15 yeas, 0 nays, the motion to adopt as amended carries.
Thank you, colleagues. The last item that I have is just a reminder that it is that time of the year, or time of the quarter. The next Comprehensive Development Plan Amendment public hearing will be held next Monday right here in the City Council chambers at 6:00 p.m. I hope you all will join me for a riveting series of presentations. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Dozier. Before we move into items for immediate consideration, there's been a call for an executive session. Can the Law Department give us a reason?
A litigation matter.
Thank you. There's a motion by Councilmember Juan, seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari to move into executive session. We do this via unanimous consent without objection. Any objection? Madam Deputy Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent on the motion to move into executive session.
Unanimous consent, 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays, the motion to move into executive session carries. We'll now move into executive session.
Okay. No problem, no problem. And I paid it last month. Even though the tenant didn't pay it, it was $3,700. That was me. But even stuff being said, we can't get any assistance from the floor. Nobody wants to go in and adjust the bill to get it back down. But the $3,700 was exorbitant. It was more than what the bill was. Right. So my issue is, why did you have to take my car $3,700? Where's the rest of my money back to me? And then the lady, because she that works for the water department, charged me another $1,400. Not the current charge, because she said she made a mistake in her calculations. And the young lady's name is Keisha Hicks, and she works for them. But through the city of Atlanta, and the utility department, they can do what they want to do because they're not governed by anybody except the council members.
Right. But that's the only what we're talking about.
so many. Then she turned around when I reported her for trying to create a hardship for me so she could try to steal my property. She went in and said code enforcement was telling people that I was running a rooming house, which I'm not. She has done everything to try to, that's the type of stuff.
Okay. You do. And that's what I would do. If they want to take 1,400, I would get that boy rate that they and have them pay. Yeah, because it's laws in place. And just because exactly. And just because city council said it, or someone in this government said, don't make it true. You know, when they walk, when I walk past girls that are sleeping and freezing to death outside.
Right.
And they said no.
Oh, she wants me to take these people that they got in the house and put them on the street. That I'm too nice of a landlord and I should rule with an iron fist. See, if she gets to take property from people, she'll make it her business.
Right.
Somebody got to be paying her
Exactly.
to go in and do that. And that's the issue that we have.
That's what we talk about.
That's what's going on. These people need to sign financial disclosures. So if they are getting paid by investors, we need to be made aware of it.
And then you would have
If we can find a nexus between payments in their account and with these investors, then there needs to be looked at. It needs to be investigated. It's a conflict of interest. If you're working for the city, but you're an investor, and you're able to go in and manipulate hardship for property owners, that puts you in a unique position to acquire properties that you're not supposed to have. You're basically increasing your portfolio by stealing from people.
like, all these folks come in here up in arms, and I'm the one getting the heat. Say, look, ain't no vote taken tonight. We just here to listen to you. So, no, I'm here listening. I ain't got no. About that win on Sunday. Yeah.
All right, I would entertain a motion to return to regular session.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Juan, seconded by Councilmember Hillis. Is there any discussion? We do this via unanimous consent. Any objection to moving back into regular session? Hearing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent to move back into regular session.
Unanimous consents, 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. We move back into regular session. We now move to personal papers for immediate consideration. Mr. Hillis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one item, Elms number 31545. A resolution by Council members Dustin Hillis and Antonio Lewis, a resolution authorizing the settlement of all claims against the defendants in the case of Tamika Miller et al. Versus City of Atlanta et al., civil action file number listed, United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, in the amount of $1,000,000, authorizing said amount to be paid from the account numbers listed, authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to distribute the total settlement amount and for other purposes. Whereas plaintiffs filed a lawsuit, Tamika Miller and the estate of Rayshard Brooks by and through Tamika Miller, Administrator versus the City of Atlanta, Georgia, Garrett Rolfe in his individual capacity, Devin Bronson in his individual capacity, alleging that on June 12, 2020, Atlanta police officers Garrett Rolfe and Devin Brosnan violated Rayshard Brooks' constitutional rights, and whereas the City Attorney has done an extensive review of the facts and the law and has determined that the City of Atlanta's potential financial exposure in defending plaintiffs' claims in excess of the settlement is in excess of the settlement amount, and whereas plaintiffs have agreed to accept $1,000,000 in full settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta and its employees, and whereas the City Attorney considers it to be in the best interest of the city to settle all claims against the defendants. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, that the City Attorney is hereby authorized to negotiate, settle, and execute all settlement documents in the case of Tamika Miller and the estate of Rayshard Brooks by and through Tamika Miller, Administrator versus the City of Atlanta, Georgia, Garrett Rolfe in his individual capacity, Devin Brosnan in his individual capacity, United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, civil action file number listed, in the amount of $1,000,000. Be it further resolved that the Chief Financial Officer is hereby authorized to pay the amount of $1,000,000 to Tamika Miller and the estate of Rayshard Brooks by and through Tamika Miller, Said payment is to be charged, paid, and issued from fund account number listed and made payable to Tamika Miller and the estate of Rayshard Brooks, by and through Tamika Miller, Administrator, and Stuart Miller Simmons, Trial Attorneys, and Spears and Filipovitz, LLC, as counsel, address listed. Such payment shall be in full consideration of the dismissal of all claims against the City of Atlanta and its employees. Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve Elms ID 31545 by Councilmember Hillis, seconded by Councilmember Wan. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt Elms 31545.
One moment, please. The vote is open. Will all members please vote?
Please reflect Councilmember Waits as an aye.
Duly noted. The vote is 14 yeas, 0 nays.
Councilmember Bond's an aye as well.
Thank you. 15 yeas, 0 nays.
15 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. That completes my items for immediate consideration.
Thank you. Any other items for immediate consideration? All right. Hearing none, we'll move to items to be referred. We will start with Councilmember Bond.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two here, but I have one more that the staff is probably going to bring in. All right, so it's Elms number 31533, an ordinance by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, an ordinance to amend ordinance 22-1669 to update the accounting stream and necessary to follow up for the appropriations of payments to the Metro Atlanta Land Bank Authority and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31533, we refer to the CDHS committee.
Okay. And I got Elms number 31543, a resolution by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, a resolution requesting the Departments of City Planning, Finance, and Law develop a policy recommendation to allow for elderly Atlantans who qualify for the senior homestead exemptions to be exempt from the tree removal fees pursuant to the City of Atlanta Tree Protection Ordinance and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31543 will be referred to the Community Development Committee.
Thank you.
Come back for the other one. Councilmember Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. President, Elms number 31539, an ordinance by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $5,000 from the Post 2 at Large carry forward account to Hope Atlanta to support homelessness initiatives and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31539 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
31538, an ordinance by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $25,000.00 from the Post 2 at Large carry forward account to Grove Park Renewal to support affordable housing initiatives and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31538 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee. Next, we'll have Councilmember Lewis. You ready?
Thank you. Elms number 31550, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis, authorizing the transfer of $2,000.00 from the Council District 12 Carry Forward account to the Departments of Parks and Recreation to assist with sponsoring the youth football program and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31550 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms number 31551, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Deal Avenue from Sylvan Road Southeast to Aline Avenue Southeast and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31551 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms number 31552, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis, an ordinance requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Langston Avenue from Catherwood Drive southwest to Birch Street southwest and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31552 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms 31542, a resolution by Councilmembers Antonio Lewis and Jason Winston and co-sponsored by Councilmember Keisha Sean Waits, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, Councilmember Andrea Bone, Councilmember Dustin Hillis, Councilmember Jason Winston, Councilmember Jason Dozier. A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute special procurement agreement SP X2211-1230148 and Lake Charlotte Natural Preserve Carbon Credit Program with Urban Forest Carbon Registry, DBA, City Forest Credits, on behalf of the City of Atlanta pursuant to Section 2-1191.1 on the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinance for a term of 40 years and an amount not to exceed $392,500. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund of department, organization, and account listed number herein and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31542 will be referred to the Community Development Committee.
And we'd like to add Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari.
So noted. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Lewis. Councilmember Overstreet.
All right, we have Elms number ID 31532, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, Councilmember Keisha Waits, Antonio Lewis, Matt Westmoreland, Michael Julian Bond, an ordinance to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Atlanta Development Authority, DBA Invest Atlanta, for a term of 5 years with one option to renew for an additional 5-year term in order to exacuate the City of Atlanta's support of Invest Atlanta's grant programs to assist the faith-based organizations seeking to develop their land for affordable housing to support missing middle affordable projects in an amount not to exceed $4,500,000 and 0 cents, to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make the payment to Invest Atlanta authorized hereby from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31532 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Thank you. Elms number ID 31528, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, Antonio Lewis, Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland, and Marcy Collier Overstreet. An ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 1, Section 2-190B, Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-196, Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-197, and Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-202 of the city's Code of Ordinances to establish the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to create the appropriate department organizations and to anticipate and appropriate the necessary funding in connection with the creation of the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer and the Commissioner of the Department of Human Services Human Resources to transfer any position currently assigned to any office of department operating under the executive branch to the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience, and shall be necessary to facilitate the immediate commencement of the operation of the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31528 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Boone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Elms number 31541, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone, an ordinance to waive Chapter 2, Article Division 1, Section 2910, grant application to ratify the City of Atlanta's submission in partnership with the United Way of Greater Atlanta of an application for the Bank on Tax Time Connect Planning Grant from the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund to implement a program to focus on creative approaches to integrate banking access into existing free tax preparation programs that serve populations that are largely or underbanked, or otherwise creatively facilitate banking access, to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into any required agreements necessary for the implementation of this award and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31541 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms ID number 31510, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone, an ordinance authorizing the mayor or the commissioner of the Department of Watershed Management as the mayor's designee to execute an agreement with the State of Georgia Department of Human Services, Division of Family and Children's Services, on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for the purpose of accepting and applying federal funds to water and sewer accounts to assist low-income households eligible for the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program, to authorize the municipal clerk to authenticate the agreement without affixing the seal of the City of Atlanta. All funds received will be deposited into and paid from the fund department organization and account number listed and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31510 will be referred to the City Utilities Committee.
Elms number 31504, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone, an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee waiving Section 21163C, Article of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta, Code of Ordinances, to enter into Amendment Number 1 on a month-to-month basis for a period not to exceed 12 months for effective from December 26, 2022, through December 25th, 2023, for FC-9969 Workers' Compensation Third-Party Administrative Services with PMA Management Corporation to provide workers' compensation third-party administration services to the City of Atlanta on behalf of the Department of Finance Office of Enterprise Risk Management in an amount not to exceed $612,900.00. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund department organization and account numbers listed and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31504 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Hillis.
Mr. President, first item, Elms 31537, a resolution by Councilmember Dustin Hillis authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute special procurement agreement SPS 1230076, Office of the City Solicitor Case Management System with Icon Holdco Incorporated on behalf of the Department of the City Solicitor pursuant to Section 2-1191.1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for a term of 3 years with 4 one-year renewals in an amount not to exceed $894,623.00. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31537 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms number 31535, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2023 general fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations the amount of $528,000 $791.00 to provide funding for the first year of a contract authorizing the acquisition of a case management system for the Office of the Solicitor and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31535 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms ID 31531, a resolution by council members Dustin Hillis, Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland, and Keisha Sean Waits, authorizing the mayor on behalf of the City of Atlanta to apply for, accept, and enter into any necessary agreements as co-applicant with the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development fiscal year 2022 Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant Program to facilitate the application for and the implementation of the Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant for Bowen Homes, to express the commitment of the City of Atlanta to an investment of $10 million and 0 cents over 8 years in public infrastructure and other projects in the Bowen Choice neighborhood area, which includes the neighborhood of Cary Park, should the Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant be successful, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31531 will be referred to the CDHS Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Norwood.
Elms 31264, resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood requesting the mayor or his designee install traffic calming devices on Valley Road between Northside Drive and Habersham Road and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31264 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms 31266, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Putnam Road between Blackland Road and Powers Ferry Road and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31266 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms 31263, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood requesting the mayor or his designee make the intersection of Peachtree Battle Avenue and Peachtree Battle Place an always stop controlled intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31263 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms 31530, an ordinance by Councilmember Mary Norwood to extend the moratorium on subdivisions of 3 or 4 adjacent lots in District 8 for a period not to exceed 90 days and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31530 will be referred to the Zoning Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Juan.
Council President, Elms ID number 31506, a resolution by Councilmember Alex Juan authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a special procurement agreement number listed, professional development services with the University of Georgia's Carl Vinson Institute on behalf of the Department of Finance for use by various city departments pursuant to Section 2-1191.1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for the purpose of providing professional development services for a term of 3 years in an amount not to exceed $133,680.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the appropriate fund, department, organization, and account numbers, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31506 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms ID 31505, a resolution by Councilmember Alex Juan authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a cooperative purchasing agreement for number listed GSA cooperative agreement with Verdosoft for a Workiva Cloud Services for the Connected Government Financial Reporting Solution with WData, utilizing the GSA contract number listed on behalf of the Department of Finance, Department of Watershed Management, and Department of Aviation for a term to begin December 19, 2022 through June 18, 2023, with 2 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $76.04. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the accounts listed and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31505 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms 31519, an ordinance by council members Alex Juan and Amir Faroki to temporarily suspend sections 20-1008C and 20-1008D of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances only as they may apply to short-term licenses or short-term rental operators that have not obtained a license, such that there shall be no authority to take administrative action or to impose any administrative penalties against short-term licensees or short-term rental operators that have not obtained a license, to declare that the suspension of sections 20-1008 and D of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances provided herein shall only be in effect through March 5th, 2023, and thereafter the suspension of sections 20-1008 C and D of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances shall automatically end, and beginning March 6, 2023, shall have no legal force or effect and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31519 will be referred to the CDHS Committee.
And Elms 31548, an ordinance by Councilmember Alex Wan to allow a sidewalk waiver issued by the Director of the Office of Zoning and Development per section number listed of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for application number listed 772 Piedmont Way Northeast, to provide that in lieu thereof constructing the required sidewalks at the named waiver site between 929 and 961 Cumberland Road Northeast. The applicant number listed shall pay $2,793.92 to the District 6 Sidewalk Fund and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31548 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you. That concludes my papers.
Thank you. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First piece of legislation, Elms ID number 31546, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, Michael Julian Bond, Jason Winston, Amir Faroki, Byron Amos, Jason Dozier, Alex Wan, Howard Shook, Mary Norwood, Dustin Hillis, Andrea Boone, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Antonio Lewis, Matt Westmoreland, and Keisha Shawn Waits. So, to declare the City of Atlanta as a human rights city and to urge government officials at all levels of government to more fully and effectively implement policies that serve to protect the human rights of all citizens and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31546 will be jointly referred to the CDHS and Finance Exec Committees.
Elms ID number 31520, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the transfer of $20,000.00 from the Council District 5 carry forward account to the Council District 5 distribution account to continue serving the Atlanta community for the public good and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31520 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms ID number 31521, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Arizona Avenue Northeast, southbound from DeKalb Avenue Northeast and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31521 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Amos.
Here we go. Elms number ID 31529, a resolution by Councilmember Byron Amos, a resolution authorizing the City of Atlanta to accept the donation of services in the form of services of one local democracy fellow who shall work collaboratively with the Mayor's Office of Intergovernmental Affairs during a one-year fellow from the Baltimore Corps, Inc., as operator of the City Corps program, value in an amount not to exceed $80,000.00, to authorize the mayor on behalf of the city to enter into a necessary agreement in connection therewith and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31529 we refer to the Finance Exec Committee. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. My first item is Elms ID number 31498, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of City Planning to execute special procurement agreement SPS DCP 2211-1230-158, short-term rental software with Granicus LLC pursuant to Section 2-1191.1 of the Atlanta City Code of Ordinances for software services to enforce the requirements for short-term rentals for a term of 1 year with a 1-year renewal option in an amount not to exceed $249,780.98. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the account listed herein and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31498 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Next item is Elms number 31522, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard Southwest from Walnut Street Southwest to Milton Street Southwest and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31522 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Our next item is Elms number 31526, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on White Street Southwest from Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard to People Street Southwest and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31526 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Next item is Elms number 31523, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to make all-way stop signs at the intersections on Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard at Walnut Street Southwest, Vine Street Southwest, John Hope Drive Southwest, Lachey Street Southwest, Mildred Street Southwest, Snick Way Southwest, Milton Street Southwest, and Yarley Street Southwest, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31523 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Next item is Next item is Elms number 31525, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Beecher Street Southwest from Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard to People Street Southwest and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31525 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
And my last item is Elms number 31524, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Bass Street Southwest from Pryor Street to McDaniel Street Southwest and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31524 will be referred to the Transportation Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Faroki.
Thank you, Council President Shipman. Elms number 31544, an ordinance by Councilmembers Amir Faroki, Councilmembers Winston, Amos, Dozier, Bakhtiari, Wan, Shook, Norwood, Hillis, Boone, Overstreet, Lewis, Bond, Westmoreland, and Waits, authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept grant award funds and amend the fiscal year 2023 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations from the United States Department of Transportation for the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity raise grant in an amount not to exceed $900,000 for the funding of a planning study for this ditch, and to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into agreements with the United States Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, and the Georgia Department of Transportation for implementation of grant acceptance and participation and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31544 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID 31508, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki, amending resolution number 22R4256, authorizing the mayor or his designee to issue task order number FC 10641M-145 for contract FC 10641M, job order contracting services with Rubio and Sons Interiors, Inc. for the construction of the Center for Diversion Services, to add additional funding in an amount not to exceed $512,345.86 on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Asset Management, all work to be charged to and paid from accounts listed and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31508 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
A resolution, Elms number 31536, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki, authorizing the mayor to, the mayor or his designee to execute the appropriate documents to accept on behalf of the Department of Aviation an in-kind donation from the Georgia Power Company as part of the Georgia Power Electric Transportation Make Ready program for services to install 32 electric transportation charging system infrastructure at Atlanta Airport Tech Campus, Atlanta Airport Maintenance Building 1, and Atlanta Airport International Gate 44, CETA, valued at $185,460 and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31536 will be referred to the Transportation Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two items today for consideration. Elms ID 31509, a resolution by Council members Jason Dozier and Jason Winston, authorizing the mayor on behalf of the City of Atlanta to terminate the lease agreement between the City of Atlanta and the Atlanta City Employees Credit Union for office space located at 226 Peachtree Street, consisting of approximately 1,068 square feet of office space, effective as November 30th, 2022, to enter into a lease termination agreement and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31509 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms ID 31507, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston, a resolution authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate housing trust funds to the Community Foundation of Greater Atlanta pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's charter in a total amount not to exceed $600,000.00 to support the Community Foundation in furtherance of its mission of facilitating the actions necessary to support the relocation of the residents of Forest Cove, including utility cost assistance to residents of Forest Cove, authorize the Chief Financial Officer or his designee to make the donation from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Elms ID 31507 will be referred to CDHS Committee. Thank you. And Councilmember Bond, I believe you have one more item.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution by myself and all members who are present, that's 15, to establish a commission to determine an appropriate manner in which to honor the TAMs, a local R&B group, and for other purposes.
The resolution, do we have an Elms on that yet?
Oh, I'm sorry. 31553.
Elms ID 31553 will be referred to the Community Development Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Anybody else? With that, we'll move to general remarks. Any general remarks? Councilmember Bond. Oh, Councilmember Boone. I'll go first as Councilmember Bond makes his way back to us.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to congratulate our colleague, Mr. Byron D. Amos, on being elected to the National Board of Directors of the National League of Cities, and just congratulate him on this milestone in his career. Congratulations.
Councilmember Bond.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we will depart this week to celebrate Thanksgiving, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving in advance, and also to announce that this week's HelloFresh distribution will depart from being on Wednesday, but will actually be tomorrow, Tuesday, November the 22nd. Still at 3 p.m., we will be at the headquarters of the Concerned Black Clergy of Metropolitan Atlanta in partnership with the National Council of Negro Women, as always with Second Helpings Atlanta and Pratt Industries to distribute these HelloFresh Thanksgiving boxes. The address is 1583 West Haven Drive, Southwest 30311. So that is Tuesday, not Wednesday, November the 22nd at 3 p.m. Again, the address is 1583 West Haven Drive, Southwest 30311, and we hope to see you there. And of course, there's no prerequisite to receive these food boxes or this benefit on a weekly basis. If you don't need it, please pass the word along to someone that you might know, because Atlanta remains the second highest city in the nation for inflation, and that includes, regrettably, the price of food. And so no one should go without this particular holiday when we have the means to try to ameliorate that problem. So we hope to see you on tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lewis.
I want to say thank you to everyone who came out to volunteer at Atlanta Metropolitan College, in which we gave out over 3,000 families turkeys, hens, and chickens. This weekend in District 12, we were able to do that. And thank you to Michael Julian Bond, Councilmember, and Councilmember Overstreet, who came out to Atlanta Metropolitan College along with my wife to give out that stuff. And lastly, I want to say congratulations to Roselle Fan 12 and under football team on winning the city championship. Congratulations on bringing that trophy home.
Nice.
All right.
Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know a few of my colleagues were a little sad to be able to miss the United States play in the World Cup today. However, I just want to invite not only my colleagues, but also our broader communities out to the West End community this Friday. My office is hosting a U.S.-UK World Cup watch party with Soccer in the Streets. to help promote the game of soccer in our Southwest Atlanta communities. Come with an empty belly. We will feed you, but wanted to extend an invitation to everyone. It's at 2 o'clock on Friday, right after Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Councilmember Waits.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. For those who want to join me in paying respects to Speaker Rawson, he will be lying in state on tomorrow. I don't know if that's been announced already. Tuesday and Wednesday at the Capitol from 10 a.m. to 4. And lastly, wanted to thank the Watershed Department. Over the weekend, we had a water main break in the Castleberry community. No fault of Atlanta's, but instead a pipe was hit by a private contractor, and the Watershed folks were out there until 1:30 working to restore water. And so just wanted to salute and thank them for all of their hard work over the weekend. Thank you.
I would just take a moment to remind everybody the early voting starts this weekend. And so please get out and early vote next weekend and all next week ahead of the runoff election. Councilmember Bond.
I want to thank Councilwoman Boone for reminding me. I failed to mention that Coach Wink, a famous local celebrity, a coach without peer, passed last week. He had long served in Washington Park community, coached my kids, coached Councilmember Amos, I believe, in Washington Park, and literally hundreds or thousands of other children around the city passed last week, and his funeral arrangements are pending. He steered my son to a state championship when he was at Washington Park, along with dozens of other kids. He was a great person, a great man, a great Morehouse man, just an outstanding individual. So just wanted to make sure that got on the record.
Thank you. Any other comments? Without those, we'll move to the closing roll call. Madam Deputy Clerk.
Council President Shipman.
Present.
Council members at large Michael Bond. Matt Westmoreland. Keisha Sean Waits. Council members Jason Winston. Amir Faroki. Byron Amos. Jason Dozier. Liliana Bakhtiari. Alex Wan, Mary Norwood, Howard Shook, Dustin Hillis, Andrea Boone, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Antonio Lewis.
Without objection, we will move to adjourn. Hearing no objection, we stand adjourned.